Thousands of school children across Australia have skipped class to protest against the government's inaction on climate change. Youngsters got together in Sydney on Friday, calling on Prime Minister Scott Morrison to resign.
I'm here today because I strongly think that the politicians, the leaders of our country, and especially ScoMo, aren't actually doing enough to help stop climate change.
We want to live in a world where we feel safe and secure.
We're the future and we're the people it's going to affect the most.
Environmental groups have accused Australia of ignoring scientists' warnings on climate change, of failing to take action to cut emissions. Australia is actually, I wouldn't think it, maybe, one of the largest carbon emitters per capita in the world. It gets 70% of its electricity from coal still. There's the catch. And the government recently defied calls to phase out coal power too, the other catch. Responding to the students, Prime Minister Scott Morrison said they should focus instead on their education and not activism or caveat future.
We do not support our schools being turned into parliaments. What we want is more learning in schools and less activism.
Well, let's get some thoughts on this. Is it right that the kids are taking actions into their own hand? With us now, Bernal. He's Professor of Urban Studies at Queen's College in New York, and also political commentator Anthony Brian Logan. Hi, guys. Thank you for your time today. Andre, you first. Yeah, we heard the Prime Minister advising kids to don't get involved in this. You need to be going back to school. Now, I get the point. Discipline and all that, and don't bunk off school, etc. But heck, it's their future lives here decades down the road that could be affected by climate change, etc. Do you think they did the right thing, or have they overstepped the mark and just upset their teachers?
I think absolutely they did the right thing. What the Prime Minister said, I believe, really speaks to different paradigms and understandings of what education is for. Like you mentioned yourself, some people view education as just being about discipline and following orders and deferment to authority. But others happen to view education as about personal development, about understanding your society, and about being engaged socially and politically in the world that you inhabit. So I think it's fantastic and really inspiring to see these students take initiative and start to view the importance of this issue, which is going to affect their livelihoods and all of our livelihoods, but in particular them as they get older, moving into the future in a world where climate change is already having an impact.
Anthony, good to see these guys getting involved. Literally, they weren't thinking behind the scenes, we got a day off school. They really do care.
I think it's all about them just trying to be part of something that's popular right now. I don't think they really understand exactly what they're doing. I mean, climate change, why are you going to cut class for climate change? I mean, look, cutting class is not going to just change the weather. I mean, unless they're going to go out there and do a dance to try to make the water come down from the sky or temperatures decrease, they're not going to do anything by
come on,
cutting class.
I mean, don't listen to Donald Trump here. Most people would guess, and from all the reading you can do about it, that climate change is a big actual problem. It is going to face people decades, well, actually probably sooner than that, but certainly school children decades down the road here, and their kids to come. It is going to be a big problem for the near future, isn't it? Surely, and isn't it right that they're taking part?
I mean, but okay, let's just say for the argument's sake that climate change is a real thing and everyone's affected. What is cutting class really going to do? They need to be in class, getting prepared for the future, becoming more educated about the environment, about the climate in which they live, so then they can contribute in a positive way. But cutting class, look, if it was me when I was their age, I'd be happy to cut class just because I'm not in school. I can go to the mall, go get something to eat, and just have a good time. This is just really silly. They need to be focused more on their education rather than just trying to act up and be non-disciplined and cut class.
Oh, Andre, the bigger picture here is, again, there's still this big question mark over whether climate change actually exists or not. Depends on what you listen to.
Well, I mean, first of all, I think that's pretty insulting to people that are interested in their education to begin with, to say that becoming politically involved and aware is an excuse to cut class and just fool around or something.
That's what it is. That's what they're doing. They're cutting class. They're not going to do anything by cutting class. You're not going to get anything. Like, they're already trying to cut back on coal emission. They're trying to cut down on the CO2 emissions. So what are you really going to do by cutting class? What is it actually going to help?
Well, I think there's two things that are important here. One is the deeply anti-intellectual nature of what my opponent is saying right here, that has no idea really about what this is about. So number one, we need to be serious about something here, okay? Climate change is real. The 95% overwhelming of scientists understand that it's real, and it's affecting the world right now as we speak. And it's going to be affecting the world in a much more serious way by the time these students get older. Okay, so becoming politically involved and disrupting the status quo is something that we have used to gain civil rights all around the world, all throughout history.
Oh,
the reason that many communities
and climate change. Good Lord.
Absolutely.
Man, oh man.
Absolutely.
That was a hard detour right there. I tell you.
Are you just telling me for a minute you don't believe in climate change, by the way? I'm getting that impression.
I mean, not really. I'm a climate skeptic, and I have the right to do that because you say 95% consensus. Well, there is a 5% non-consensus that says that they don't really believe in it. So do you just call those 5% of people that are scientists, that are actual legitimate people, do you just call them heretics? Do you say they're idiots? Do you say they're buffoons? Or do you say that they have a different opinion than the majority?
Yeah, no, I get your point there. What about the reaction of Prime Minister Scott Morrison saying these kids should focus on education, not activism? But, it's more than activism. If climate change is true, it's these guys' future, isn't it? And surely they, kids are intelligent. They get a picture early on in life. They're probably worried.
Well, this is not going to do anything. I mean, we're cutting class. You're just skipping school and you're going to go protest. Okay, like, what are you really protesting? Are you protesting the sun? Are you protesting the wind? Are you protesting water?
Make the politicians
what are you really
prick their ears up maybe and do something about it, especially as far as Australia is concerned, because it burns a heck of a lot of coal. Do you think that's wishful thinking or not, Andre?
I mean, I can't believe I'm having this conversation right now. I mean, protesting has changed things and policies and ideas and power all throughout history in so many different ways. Climate change just happens to be one of them. And to get to the point about the small percentage of scientists that don't agree, I mean, you just have to do a little bit of research to see that they're hiring the same people that they hired to speak about tobacco in the past, to speak about to speak against seatbelts, to do all these kinds of same people that are.
Hold on. Because in this study you're talking about 95%, they're curating these people, they're selecting them. So let's not do that, because if you want to say that they're hiring people that are going to come and speak against climate change, also say that they're going to put in people in this study that agree with climate change mostly, because if you don't agree, guess what? You're not going to get funded. You're not going to go on Indeed.com and see a job listing for a scientist. If you don't agree with climate change, then good luck getting funded by the federal government, who wants to have this thing about climate change be the reality.
Andre, respond to that.
Are you? I mean, I don't think this person understands the way that scientific and peer-reviewed research actually happens. It's not that way. It doesn't function that way. People all across the disciplines are arguing all the time. This happens to be something that has overwhelming consensus based on scientific methodology and not based on just popular opinion. But what we do see is that some institutes are being funded to produce science skepticism by the same people that produce skepticism about the dangers of tobacco in the past. This is well documented. And either way, I mean, even if it wasn't true and if it wasn't the case, in something like scientific analysis, 95%, and it's probably higher than that, is unbelievably overwhelming. And this is something we don't want to play around with.
And going back to these kids coming out of school, Anthony, isn't it just nice that people, if nothing else, these youngsters that are tomorrow's politicians, that are tomorrow's parents, are getting involved in what they maybe see as their civic duty, their world duty for their kids down the road, and taking part in something that does matter to such a lot of people? Do you not think that's a good thing that we're seeing here, that they've all taken to the streets today, even though they're having a day off school?
Well, that's two different things. I'm glad that they're getting involved with politics. I'm glad they're understanding what's going on. That's a good thing, because the younger you are when you get involved with that, you'll be better off for it once you become an adult. You would have experience with it rather than, you're 18 years old and you have no idea what's going on. You have the ability to vote. So it's good that they're getting involved. However, it's the right way to do things. I mean, you got to go to school. I mean, last I checked in the United States, I'm not quite sure about Australia, but you cut class, that's actually a problem.
Yeah.
You get disciplined for that. Word for you. You got 20 seconds. Truancy court. So
do you want to see more of this?
That's what that is.
Do you want to see more kids taken to the streets with the banners around the world saying, "Hey, we're worried about climate change"? Do you want to see that, or is that not the way?
Absolutely. That's absolutely the way. And I think what my opponent here is talking about is a prison to pipeline system we have in the United States that's focusing on authority, focusing on punishment, and putting a bunch of people, particularly students of color, in prison for all kinds of social issues affecting their lives. So that's the situation we're in. And obviously, we have a very anti-intellectual environment here in the United States, as you can see from my opponent, who has no clue what he's talking about when it comes to climate change.
You two make a great program. We've got to leave it for now. Andre Bernal, Professor of Urban Studies at Queen's College in New York, and political commentator Anthony Brian Logan, often a guest on RT International. Have a nice day, guys. Thank you for being with us, and let's hope that climate change isn't quite so bad. Fingers crossed there, Anthony.